The first cock crowed as dawn broke over the quiet village of Umeus, a small community nestled among dusty paths and mud brick houses. Chike stood on the thin mat spread across the clay floor of the backyard shed. His body ached from the hard surface, a far cry from the soft bed inside the main house where his stepmother, Adeko, and her sons, Obi and Emeka, slept. Since his father, Okofor, remarried, Chike's life had changed. The shed, once a storage space for yam and firewood, was now his bedroom. He rose slowly, his bare feet brushing against the cool earth, and picked up the broom to sweep the compound. Dry palm fronds and scattered sand crunched under his feet. He walked silently, knowing complaints would only earn him a sharp tongue or worse. Chike was a handsome young man, with skin like polished cocoa and eyes that held a quiet strength, like the still waters of the village stream. But his looks were a burden in this house. Adeko despised him, not for any wrong he had done, but because he was the son of Okafor's first wife, Neka, who died during his birth. Adeko, who entered the family with smiles and soft words, soon revealed her true nature. She turned Okafor against his son, whispering that Chike was a curse, a boy who brought misfortune. Okafor, once a loving father, grew distant, treating Chike like a stranger. Obi and Emeka, Adeko's sons, followed their mother's lead, mocking Chike's patched clothes and treating him like a servant. Though the house had hired help, cooks and cleaners who ate well, Chike scrubbed pots, fetched water, and swept the compound. His meals were scraps, eaten alone by the back door, his stomach often rumbling through the night. Why do they hate me? He wondered, staring at the stars through the shed's open window. He had no answers, only duties. Mornings meant cleaning, afternoons meant washing, evenings meant cooking. No one thanked him. No one saw him. One Sunday, while the family attended church in their starch wrappers and polished shoes, Chike stayed behind to boil water and prepare yam porridge. His task done, he carried a bucket to the village stream. There, under a mango tree, he saw her, a woman in tattered clothes, her hair matted, her face smudged with dirt. The village children ran past, shouting, "Mad woman! Mad woman!" But Chike paused. Her eyes went wild, they were heavy with sorrow, like a sky before rain. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small piece of yam he'd saved from the kitchen. "You look hungry," he said, offering it. She took the yam, her fingers trembling, and nodded. Chike gave her a small smile and walked away, unaware that her gaze followed him, her heart stirred by his kindness. He didn't know her name was Amara, nor that she was no mad woman, but a billionaire in disguise, searching for someone who saw beyond appearances. Amara sat under the tree, chewing the yam. It was tough, but it warmed her. She had come to Umeus to escape the hollow world of wealth, where men chased her for her fortune, not her heart. Born into a family that owned oil wells and estates, Amara had everything except love. A past betrayal by a man she trusted had left her weary. He had wooed her with charm, only to siphon funds from her company. Heartbroken, she vowed to find someone who loved her for herself. So, she left her mansion, dressed in rags, and wandered villages where no one knew her name. In Umeus, she was ignored or mocked, until Chike. His simple act of kindness, giving what little he had, changed everything. Days later, the sun beat down on Umeus' red earth. Chike knelt in the compound, scrubbing pots with ash. Adeko watched from the veranda, her lips curled in a cruel smile. She enjoyed his suffering, it fed her sense of control. Obi and Emeka lounged inside, sipping cold malt and scrolling through their phones. To them, Chike was invisible, a shadow who cleaned their messes. The compound gate creaked open. Amara stepped in, her clothes still torn, her hair wired. The gateman, confused, blocked her path. "Who are you?" he demanded. "I wish to speak to the head of this house," Amara said, her voice calm but firm. Adeko stepped forward, hands on her hips. "You? Speak to my husband. Do you know where you are?" Okafor emerged, frowning at the sight of her. "What do you want?" "I want to marry one of your sons," Amara said. Laughter erupted. Adeko doubled over, clutching her wrapper. "Mary. You? Look at yourself." Obi and Emeka joined in, mocking her. "This mad woman wants me." Obi jeered. "She's not even fit to wash my shoes," Emeka added. Okafor waved her away. "Leave before I call the vigilantes." But Adeko's eyes gleamed with malice. Wait, she said. Let her marry someone. Let her marry Chike. The useless boy and the mad woman, perfect match. Chike froze, the pot slipping from his hands. Okafor hesitated, then nodded. Yes, Chike. He's no use here anyway. Chike's heart sank. Papa, please, he whispered. Quiet. Okafor snapped. You'll marry her. Amora's eyes met Chike's, filled with sorrow, not triumph. He ran to the shed, his chest tight with despair. They were giving him to a stranger, a woman they mocked, and no one cared how he felt. That night, Chike sat outside the shed under the moonlight, his knees drawn to his chest. Tomorrow was his wedding, to a woman the village called Mad. Adiku had spent the day taunting him, saying no one else would want him. The houseboys whispered, calling him Mad Woman's husband. He thought of his mother, Neka. Would she have let this happen? He considered running, but where? He had no money, no one to turn to. Footsteps broke his thoughts. Amora stood by the compound's palm tree, her silhouette soft in the moonlight. You shouldn't be here, Chike said, his voice low. I know, she replied. I didn't come to hurt you. Then why this marriage? He asked, his voice cracking. I gave you yam that day. Was that a mistake? No, she said. I came to give you something, but the time isn't right. She pulled a small bracelet from her pocket, its beads glinting faintly. This was my father's. He said to give it to someone who sees my heart, not my wealth. Chike stared, confused. What does that mean? You'll understand, she said, placing the bracelet in his hand. Then she vanished into the night. The morning sun painted Yumu's in gold, but Chike felt no warmth. He stood in the village church, dressed in a patched shirt and worn trousers, beside Amora, still in her tattered gown. The pews were filled with curious villagers, whispering and snickering. Adeku smirked, Obi and Emeka stifled laughs, and Okafor avoided Chike's gaze. The pastor, uneasy, began the ceremony. Do you, Chike, take this woman? He asked. Chike's throat tightened. Adeku glared. I do, he whispered. Then came the unveiling. Amora untied the cloth around her head, revealing smooth, braided hair. She wiped her face with a cloth, showing clear, radiant skin. From her bag, she pulled a tailored dress, slipping it on over her rags. Gasps filled the church. She stood tall, no longer a mad woman, but a vision of grace. She handed Chike a letter. His hands shook as he read, I came to find love, not pity. You gave me yam when you had nothing. Forgive me for the pain I caused to find your truth. The church fell silent. Amora took the microphone. I disguised myself to find someone who'd love me for me, not my wealth. I'm Amora Okoye, and I own Okoye Enterprises. Chike saw me when no one else did. To the family who gave him away, you thought you were mocking him, but you gave me a treasure. Adeku collapsed, sobbing. Obi and Emeka knelt, begging forgiveness. Okafor stammered, we didn't know. Amora turned to Chike. You don't have to stay. The choice is yours. Chike looked at the bracelet, then at her. I was never a son in my father's house, he said, his voice steady. You gave me what they never did, a choice. If you want me for who I am, I'll stay. Amora smiled. The pastor pronounced them married. They walked out, hand in hand, leaving a stone village behind. Amora's mansion stood on the outskirts of the city, its gates framed by hibiscus flowers. Chike stepped inside, awed by the marble floors and chandeliers. Staff bowed, welcoming him as Sir. That night, Amora handed him a letter from her father. My daughter sought a heart, not wealth. You saw her. Welcome to our family. Chike wrote a letter to Okafor. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but for my peace. I was your son, but you made me a servant. I found my worth. Months later, Okafor, Adeku, Obi, and Emeka arrived at the mansion, soaked from rain, kneeling for forgiveness. Chike watched them, his heart calm. I forgive you, he said, but I choose my peace. You came for my glory, not my heart. He turned away, joining Amara in the garden, where roses bloomed under a gentle rain. For the first time, Chike stood tall, not as a servant, but as a man seen, loved, and free.